Hi, I'm Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy. Happy to join millions of people across the globe today who are paying tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. During his lifetime, I was a great admirer of his. Thought one time when I was a graduate student at Ohio University that I was going to get to hear him speak. Our class was scheduled to do that in a nearby town. I was in Athens, Ohio, at Ohio University. Somehow, though, that plan fell through. Of course, like many others, I watched him many times on television, heard him on radio, and became a great admirer of his speaking skill. As a speech coach and communication consultant, I have studied very closely why Dr. Martin Luther King can well serve as a role model for those of us who want to become more highly persuasive. This could be if you are presenting to an audience, or if you are managing a team, if you're CEO of a company, if you're selling a product or a service, whatever you're doing, persuasion is important to all of us. And so, again, I turn to Dr. King as an excellent role model. I'll be referring to some notes because this comes from an article that I wrote for a newspaper. There are several reasons that we can turn to Dr. Martin Luther King as a role model for persuasive speaking. Of prime importance, well, I forgot to turn the phone off, I can see. Of prime importance, of course, is that King's life was consistent with his rhetoric. He did what he asked other people to do. He not only encouraged them to participate in marches, to risk their lives when they were dealing with brutal police. He went through being called a communist by the Ku Klux Klan and even by high officials in government. And yet he remained steadfast to his task, and that was to help people become free from the shackles of segregation. And then next, King used vivid illustrations in his presentations, illustrations that business and professional people could relate to. In his famous 1963 "I Have a Dream" speech, he used these stirring words. "We have come to our nation's capital to cash a check." See how business people could relate to that? "The authors of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence," he noted, "were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. Unfortunately, though," he said, "when Negroes tried to cash the check, it came back marked insufficient funds. But hope remained." He said, "We refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt." Well, could any listener with financial expertise not catch that imagery and apply it to their own lives? And then third, even though he had this poetic ability to draw images such as I've just mentioned, he was wonderful in a play on words as well. He gave attention-riveting word contrast. I like this one so much. He said, "The Negro was in a lonely island of prosperity in the midst of a vast ocean of national prosperity." The Negro in a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. And then number four, he spoke with stirring emotion. Critics have found out that during his 1963 "I Have a Dream" speech at the Washington Mall before many, many thousands of people who were there and many more on television, he departed from his text. He was so caught up in his theme that he absolutely departed from his text and became even more creative. And that's what good persuaders do. They don't just stick to necessarily what's planned, even though we've got to have a plan, but they will let the emotion of the moment take them to the top. And then number 5, his message had magnetism because his theme was consistent. It was unwavering. You didn't find him saying one thing to one audience and one thing to another audience. In fact, the major point here is that he repeated the same message without ever diluting it. Suppose he had said at some point during the protest and the marches and the messages and his interviews on television, suppose he had said, well, you know, it's okay if we maybe just integrate the elementary schools and then forget about the others, the colleges and the high schools. Well, he never diluted his message. It was very, very consistent. So again, as a communication coach, consultant, professional speaker, and speech coach, to me, as we commemorate Dr. King, we can look to him as a role model for persuasive presentations. Thanks very much for being with me today on Martin Luther King Observance Day. I'm Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy.